shared a whole stack of sources with us, and they all seem to be grappling with what might be the biggest source of professional anxiety out there today, just the sheer speed of everything.
Yeah, the pace of change. It's relentless.
We're in this environment where, new tech drops every week, skills feel obsolete almost as soon as you learn them, and this idea of just keeping up, well, it feels like a fast track to burnout.
It is.
So we dove into this whole exploration of how to stay relevant in a world that just keeps accelerating. And our mission, it's pretty critical. We're not here to figure out how to run faster on the treadmill.
Right.
We're here to figure out how to strategically position ourselves, how to build a foundation so that all this change that's coming, it starts to work for you, not against you.
And that reframe is, I think, the most important part.
Mhm.
Because if you treat relevance as like a short-term tactic.
Like learning the new software feature this quarter.
Exactly. You are absolutely guaranteed to burn out. The sources are so clear on this. Relevance has to be a long-term operating system.
Yeah.
It's all about building a kind of durability that lets you absorb change, adapt to it, and, eventually even lead it.
Okay, so let's unpack that, this foundational idea. The very first principle we pulled out, I think, it immediately separates the winners from the worn out.
Right.
Don't chase trends, study direction.
Mm.
And that distinction, that difference between the noise and the actual signal, it's just profound. A trend is loud, it's flashy.
It's designed for social media.
Yeah, but direction is quiet.
It's the difference between asking, which viral framework should I be using today?
Yeah.
And asking, what are the structural shifts that are going to permanently change my industry over the next 5 years? I mean, chasing trends is just, it's a shallow well. It's all this energy for a temporary result.
And the sources, they gave us these 4 much deeper directional questions that just cut right through the superficial noise. This is where the value is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you look at the world, you should be asking, one, what fundamental human behaviors are actually changing for good?
Mm.
2, what specific work is just disappearing because it's being automated? 3, what kinds of decisions are moving from a human over to a system? And 4, and this is, I think, the most valuable question, where is human judgment? Where's creativity? Where's empathy becoming more valuable now that all the routine stuff is gone?
That framing completely moves the conversation away from, features and tools and into economics and psychology.
Yes.
A perfect example is like all the hype around a specific new AI model. That's a trend.
That's the trend. Yeah.
But the underlying direction is the automation of generalized writing and image creation,
Yeah.
which suddenly makes things like clarity, original thinking, and deep problem framing
Scarce and incredibly high-value skills.
Ex-
And that's the compounding value. You see, trends, they're ephemeral. They burn bright, they fade out. But if you align yourself with a long-term direction, like the constant need for better human judgment, that value, it just compounds year after year. Relevance isn't about, temporary excitement. It's about aligning with the gravitational pull of where the world is actually headed.
And you can't align with that direction if you're, defensive about the present. The mindset for this is labeled specifically as curiosity. If you're constantly defending how things used to be done, you're already irrelevant. It's the fastest path there.
It really requires a profound psychological openness. You have to be genuinely curious about where you might be wrong. You have to be willing to look at what, say, younger builders or different generations see, even if it totally contradicts your 20 years of experience.
Right.
If you build a wall around what you already know, you just block all the important signals. Relevance really demands mental flexibility more than anything else.
Okay, so that flexibility needs to be anchored to something durable, right? Which brings us to the next big strategy, how to invest your time wisely. We're talking about invest in fundamentals that don't decay.
Yes.
We all know tools get old, buzzwords disappear, frameworks change every quarter. So what actually lasts? What doesn't decay?
What's fascinating is that the source defines this really precise list of 6 fundamentals, and they are effectively timeless no matter what the tech is.
These are the skills to sharpen?
These are the ones we're talking about. Systems thinking, first principles reasoning, problem framing, clarity in communication, making decisions under uncertainty, and, a real understanding of human behavior.
Okay, those are not things you pick up in a weekend course. Those are cognitive disciplines. Can we just pause on 2 of them for a second? For listeners who haven't really dug into these terms, what does systems thinking actually look like in practice?
That's a great question because it sounds so abstract. So linear thinking solves one problem. My website is slow. Systems thinking asks, okay, why is the website slow? Is it the code, the database, the payment flow, or is it a human system problem?
Oh,
Are
interesting.
the developers siloed and not talking to the product team? It's about looking at that whole interconnected network and seeing how fixing one piece might actually break three others.
So instead of just patching a leak, you're basically redesigning the whole plumbing system.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
first principles reasoning is sort of related. Instead of just adopting an industry best practice, a rule of thumb, you break a problem down to its core scientific truths.
Okay, give me an example.
If you want to build a better chair, you don't start by looking at other chairs. You start with the physics of weight distribution, the materials that resist gravity, the physiology of the human back.
I see.
And if you apply that to business, you don't just copy your competitor's marketing. You start by asking, what does my customer fundamentally need, regardless of how we've always delivered it?
Right, so when you build on those durable, non-decaying fundamentals, learning a new tool just becomes application. It's trivial.
It is.
The source says when these foundations are strong, every new change is an opportunity, but when they're weak, every change just feels like a threat.
It's the difference between being a specialist in, say, one software feature and being a master problem solver. Relevance is built on that rock-solid foundation of cognitive skills, not on fleeting features.
Which leads perfectly into how we manage this tidal wave of new information. It's so easy to confuse consumption with actual progress.
Mhm.
So the next point is learn continuously, but apply selectively. I really struggle with this one. I feel productive just reading 5 articles on some new shift. Isn't just learning always good?
Learning is essential, but passive consumption without any kind of practice. It's often just intellectual entertainment,
Ouch. Okay.
which is why the source gives us this really simple, rigorous filter. Before new knowledge moves from your knowledge pile into your actual daily work, you have to check if it helps you do one of 4 things.
Okay, what are they?
Does it help you? 1, think better. 2, build genuine leverage. 3, design better systems. Or 4, make better decisions.
So if I spend, say, 3 hours reading a super detailed report on the newest niche coding language, but that language doesn't immediately help me think better or design better systems in my current role.
You should probably put it aside and keep focusing on, say, your communication clarity instead.
Right.
Exactly. If that new knowledge doesn't actively improve an outcome that matters to your long-term direction, it's not relevant yet. The goal isn't to know everything. The goal is to effectively use the few things that matter to drive real change.
So once we've used that filter, the next step is about immediate action. The sources really hammer this home. Turn learning into output immediately.
Yeah, this is so
If
important.
you learn something important but you don't produce something with it, that learning just, it fades. It's a lost opportunity.
And turning learning into output, it's a forcing function for clarity. You can think you understand a concept, but just try to explain it in a short article. Or build a simple system around it, and bam, all the gaps in your knowledge are suddenly right there in front of you. It makes the learning stick. We're talking about converting that knowledge into visible assets. An article, a framework you use with your team, a mental model you can share, maybe a small tweak to your workflow.
Or even just a new way of explaining a tough concept.
Yes, a new way of explaining it.
And the relevance factor here, it's all about external visibility. People recognize explainers and builders. They don't really see the quiet learners.
That's right. That output is what keeps your relevance visible and, actionable for the rest of the world.
But that output has to be sustainable, which I think brings us to a major point of friction for so many people. Point 5. Build systems, not personal hustle.
The big one.
This sounds amazing in theory, but when you're a solo operator or your job is just super demanding, how do you even start building a durable system? The immediate reality requires non-stop personal hustle just to stay afloat.
That is a crucial challenge.
Yeah.
And the sources aren't suggesting that systems just magically appear.
Right.
They're suggesting a shift in how you allocate your effort. Hustle is fragile. It relies entirely on your personal energy. If you stop running, the whole thing collapses.
In there.
A system, on the other hand, is a process that compounds value even when you step away. The shift is in perspective. You stop asking, how can I work harder this week?
Yeah.
And you start dedicating, say, 10% of your time to asking, what system can I build that will carry 90% of this task forward without me?
Or what part of my work keeps getting better even when I'm on vacation?
Exactly. That is the definition of building leverage. It's getting more output without a corresponding increase in your input.
Yeah.
That's how you scale relevance.
Leverage is definitely the key word there. It's about nonlinear gains. And crucially, those systems have to solve problems that actually exist in the real world.
Yeah, you have to get out of the echo chamber.
Which is point 6. Stay close to reality, not just online discourse. It is so easy to mistake a conversation on Twitter for reality, but online narratives are so often lagged or exaggerated.
Or just focused on trivial stuff.
Yeah.
The best signals for what's actually relevant, they lie in the ground truth. You have to get out and observe. The sources suggest you actively watch how people actually work.
Go see where the friction is.
Go see where friction persists in daily life. Notice what makes a customer break trust with a product. See what great idea gets completely ignored by the market despite all the online hype.
Yeah.
Real-world behavior is the ultimate signal. I mean, winning an online debate about some theoretical solution creates zero value. Relevance comes from solving real, persistent problems that people actually have.
Okay, moving toward the long-term view now.
Yeah.
We hit this crucial issue of professional identity. Evolve my identity without losing my core. And I see 2 classic failure modes here all the time. You have the professional who refuses to change at all and just becomes obsolete.
The dinosaur.
And then you have the professional who changes so radically with every single trend that they lose all coherence. No one knows what they stand for anymore.
And navigating that middle path is the real art of long-term relevance. It's evolution without losing who you are. The sources define this so well by splitting your focus into the stable core versus the evolving expression.
Okay, break that down.
Your core, that has to stay stable. This is your commitment to things like systems thinking, clarity over hype, long-term value, and ethical approach.
Yeah.
That's who you are.
Got it.
But your expression, how you show up in the world, that must evolve. You might move from focusing on tools to building whole systems,
Right.
or from pure execution to orchestration. The underlying principles, the core, they stay the same. But how you manifest them changes with the times.
And this is where the difference between short-term popularity and long-term influence just becomes so stark. Point 8. Optimize for long-term trust, not short-term attention.
So important right now.
Attention is so easy to get. You just need a hot take, a viral moment.
An extreme viewpoint.
But that attention is cheap. It's fleeting. Trust, on the other hand, is rare.
Trust is the durable asset of influence. And the source encourages us to use trust as a filter for everything we put out there. Before you hit publish or commit to something, ask yourself 2 simple questions.
Okay.
1, will this still make sense and will I be proud of it in 3 years? And 2, will I stand by this position when all the hype fades away?
If the answer is no, you're just feeding the attention machine.
And that machine requires more and more noise just to keep going. But relevance built on trust, on clarity, consistency, reliability, that survives the cycles. That builds a relationship with your audience that can last for decades, not just days.
Which ties directly into the final strategic perspective, doesn't it? Point 9. Think in decades, not quarters.
The ultimate reframe.
If your time horizon is just 90 days, your relevance will, by definition, be short-term. You're forced to chase the nearest trend.
But thinking about a 10-year horizon, it just changes your behavior immediately. You stop panicking about the next big software update.
Because you're focused on structural relevance.
Precisely. You start focusing on what skills, what human problems, and what capabilities will always be needed, regardless of the platform or the tool set. That perspective, it transforms relevance from this reactive scramble into a calm strategic process. You're building deep roots instead of, just seasonal foliage.
This has been a really critical deep dive. I think if we synthesize the core takeaway, it's exactly what the author concluded. Staying relevant today isn't about raw speed. It's not about working more hours. It's about strategic alignment.
It's about aligning your efforts with that long-term direction, building on those enduring fundamentals, solving real-world problems.
And relying on compounding systems and trust.
Right. And leveraging trust-based influence. The world will absolutely keep accelerating. That's the one thing we can count on. But relevance allows you to harness that speed without getting swept away by it.
The metaphorical lesson here is so powerful. While everything is moving faster, durability comes from making sure you're standing on the right ground, focusing your scarce energy only where it compounds. And that focus on systems over personal hustle really is the engine for all of this. So based on that insistence from the source on turning learning into immediate system-based output, here's the question we want to leave you with. If the foundation of long-term relevance is systems thinking, what is the smallest, most actionable system tweak you could implement this week to turn your most recent passive learning into tangible, compounding output? ensuring that knowledge becomes practice, not just a faded memory.
Build something. Don't just consume.
Exactly. Thank you so much for sharing your sources with us.
We really encourage you to apply these principles and start building that durable foundation today.
And we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.